Hey guys, Shuman6 here from UPSV. I just wanted to talk a little bit about beginners using hard tricks or just harder, trying to learn things before their time. And one thing about this that I feel strongly about is that there is no such thing as a hard trick compared to a different trick. For me personally, I know the fundamentals, learning them for the first time, learning my first thumb round, learning my first charge, where I had no concept of pin spinning. Um, that was the hardest tricks. Those were the hardest tricks for me. When I started learning, there weren't really that many YouTube videos up, and we had to learn from just I personally learned from just watching the GIFs on pin tricks and looking at reading the text and trying to figure it out myself. And those I know took so much more effort than any other trick I've ever tried, I've ever mastered. Um, Whenever I teach other people how to spin pins, part of it is you want to get people motivated, and getting people motivated means you want to have something that they can be proud of. And for them, what I tell them is that you should learn what you want to learn. So I say watch some of these really good pin spinners like Super Wit, Gang, and then tell me what you see and what you want to learn, and then I'll show them how to go about learning that trick. That doesn't mean you don't practice linkages, you don't practice your fundamentals. That means you learn what's fun to you. And I think that's what's the most important thing about pin spinning. Because why do we pin spin? It's not because we're making money. It's not because this is some organized ladder. It's not that that's set in stone. You learn what you think looks cool, what you want to show, what you want to do, how you want to express yourself. Um, Another thing, power tricks, right? Power tricks, because that's what they're called. Often associated as being hard because they look more flashy, but some of the most advanced and the hardest tricks, you can't tell the difference between them and any other power trick if you're not advanced yourself. So a lot of what new pin spinners are doing is they're just trying to learn something that looks cool, and why not, right? Because pin spinning, this aesthetics, you want it to look good. Uh, I know a lot of older pin spinners, not mentioning any names, and there are a lot of older pin spinners who don't have this problem, but a lot of them will have problems learning new power tricks, keeping up with the newer spinners. And newer spinners aren't any worse at linkages. They're not any worse at fundamentals, not necessarily. But they're more advanced in terms of their thinking about combos and stuff. When I first started spinning back in early 2007, finishers first started showing up. Before then, it wasn't always a norm to have a finisher at the end of a combo. And now these days, if you see a combo and there's no finisher, you're just like, what just happened, right? But that started coming about. So you'd have people doing double thumb rounds, double fingerless thumb rounds, backfall, which was in back then. And honestly, what I see is elitism, and that's not to say that everyone's guilty of this, but I think a lot of older pin spinners are guilty of it, and in a way, it stunts the growth of newer pin spinners, and you see that in the fact that more supportive pin spinning for fun kind of communities, or just closer knit communities, you have more development in terms of their pin spinning skill. Newer pin spinners I'm talking about. So they develop faster and better than the previous generation. And if you take what we say, as in older pin spinners from a previous generation for our word, all you're ever gonna get in return is what we know. And part of pin spinning, and part of development in terms of, pin spinning is growing and people are getting better. It's a good thing. But part of it is, people used to believe that, pros should be making these new tricks. They should be making new developments in pin spinning. They should be the most progressive. It's like kind of it's like their duty. It's a responsibility. And honestly, I think it's nowadays Nowadays, I think it's new pin spinners who do this. They come to pin spinning fresh. They don't have any prior knowledge. They don't have any prior misconceptions about what's good, what's wrong. And as soon as we place those, as soon as we say, you know what, Buster, don't do that. Don't own a Buster because it's so heavy. That's when you start running into problems. As soon as we say, you know what, this trick is too advanced for you. This trick is too hard for right now. You want to learn these fundamental concepts that we ourselves say are good. That's when you run into problems. And you need creativity in pin spinning, or else you're gonna just start seeing stagnant pin spinning, and no one wants to see that. Pin spinning is all about development. And the only thing I will say about learning more advanced tricks early on and only learning advanced tricks is you burn out quickly. What that means is you get too good too fast, and it's a hard concept to understand, but you get to a point where you're like, I know how to do this, and I don't want to learn anymore. You don't develop that love of pin spinning that you do when you start slow, and you start with a constant progression that you do when you learn fundamentals, and then you learn linkages, and you do what people recommend. And the thing is, you don't want to do that though. You want to do what you want to do, and that's what you should do too. A lot of people will come into pin spinning saying, how do I get good? How do I get good fast? I think a lot of people want to get good fast, and they want to have fun too, right? And they want to show off to their friends. I mean, that's one of the main reasons people start pin spinning, or because they think it looks cool and they want to be able to do that as well. And I think that's why pin spinning is one of the most pure forms of manipulation, is because the skill involved is what you put into it. So if you want to learn that advanced trick, you should learn that advanced trick. Thumb round, you're throwing the pin around your thumb. That's not any less difficult than high twat is. It's only a fundamental trick because we say so, and because we say it is. A lot of people learn charge reversed first. Why are we saying that 2-3 slot charge normal? That's the one you need to learn first. I have no idea, because for some people it's easier a different way. You want to keep people interested, and you want to teach people not only that they can learn it, because a lot of people don't think they can. So when you show them that they can learn anything they want to learn, any trick they want to learn, the hardest trick that they see on YouTube, or that they see another pin spinner in person do at a tournament or something, you tell them you can learn that. Okay, you're not just like, oh, that's so hard. You're not going to learn that until you learn all of these other tricks. And that's another thing. Trick learning order. It's a joke, really. It's always been a joke. People used to ask, what's the most efficient way to learn these tricks so you know the skills for the next one. And the thing is, don't learn tricks, learn linkages, right? You don't want to learning tricks is good, but it only gets you so far, because you never just do a trick unless you're just doing like a thumb round, or maybe just like one trick to show someone how to do it. But you never just do a trick. You want to learn how to do the trick in context of another trick, in context of a linkage, because that's what's important. Once you learn that, you can do the trick too, and it makes more sense, and it's easier when you do it that way. It's easier to learn, and that's what new pin spinners do. They don't just sit there and try to get it down. They learn it. They learn it well. First of all, I think that's one misconception. People think new pin spinners, they don't learn well, right? Well, first of all, they haven't had as much practice, but they're learning it well. They're learning it better than a lot of older pin spinners are, because we are so stuck in our own old ways of, we're not used to the new motions of advanced tricks, being power tricks, and there's a different feeling to those tricks. It's more, less control. Aerials, you have less control over that, and a lot of older pin spinners are still keeping up with what they can do. And that's impressive, but it's the same concept as starting with a heavier mod, and something that I personally don't understand why people dislike this idea so much, because having a heavier mod to practice with, I wish so much that I had a waterfall mod to spin with when I was starting. I would have learned my fundamentals in a snap. I wouldn't have had any problems with my reverses or advancing. I would be a much better pin spinner today if I had started with a waterfall and maybe had a buster to practice with. There's a misconception that, you know, if you spin lighter mods you can spin heavier mods, and that's not necessarily true. And there's also a misconception that if you spin heavier mods you're not going to be able to spin lighter mods, and that's not necessarily true either. And there's like a it's taboo to spin a heavy mod because people look down upon you, and I don't think that should be true either. For obvious reasons. I feel like they're obvious, because if you learn better, if you learn faster with a heavier mod, why not, right? Why not? Besides other people who are like, who maybe are jealous, or have some strange idea in their heads that makes them think that it's worse or it's gonna hurt your hand, because honestly it's not. If you're not dumb about it, pin spinning isn't gonna hurt your hand. And that's over the course of your life. It's not gonna ruin your hands. It might even make them better if you're smart about it. Just don't be dumb and just like sit there and do thumb round over and over, or else you're gonna get repetitive strain RSI. But I mean, it's a justification for why not to use it, but it's not a good one. It really isn't. And there are no good justifications why not to. You know, if the only observations that I've made, like personal observations, it sounds to me like it's a theory, but no one's ever like had observations about it. I think from my observations I can tell you, using a heavier mod isn't going to affect your spinning besides making you a better spinner. It's just going to help you learn tricks. You know, the only downside I would say is that a lot of heavier mod spinners who start heavy, they get too good too fast, and then they can't sit down and learn what they have to learn to get even better. But if you can, and you just want to, you know, be able to do that triple high trois and impress people, and that's great, because it just adds to a positive feedback loop, which, you know, makes people go, wow, that's really cool, and support you, and then you keep with pin spinning. If you do that, you know, you're gonna be 10 times better than pin spinners who, you know, think we have to stick to this strict regimen, or not even strict, but we have to learn fundamentals first. We have to learn this first, because all tricks are created equal, and I feel like that's true. Of course, you want to learn useful tricks that you can use in your combos, and you want to work on them. You don't want to leave them, you know, all shabby. But that comes with time, anyways. You don't automatically develop, you know, good. Your hand learns. You can't automatically just do awesome linkages really smoothly. You just have to practice it. And if you start practicing harder tricks, quote unquote harder tricks, early, you're gonna be better at them earlier. And that's an idea that just makes sense. It's logical. And it's not necessarily about learning harder tricks. Learn what you want to learn. The idea is that you can do anything with a pen. You can do what you say you think in your mind. Okay, I want to make this pen spin on my knuckle like this. You can do it. You just have to practice it. And that's the thing about pen spinning that I love. It's that you just practice it and you can get it done. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if people think it's advanced or hard, right? It's what it is, and it's linkages too. You know, a lot of times these days I don't teach people tricks. I teach people linkages, because that's important. You know, a lot of people think, okay, I'm gonna go learn linkages. What tricks do I need to learn? My way of thought is that you want to learn linkage. Learn the linkage. This is how you do the linkage. You know, you have to do this motion first, and it goes into this motion, and then people learn how to do that, and then at the same time they're also learning how to do the tricks, and that way they know that tricks need to be modified. You can't just have a trick and not be able to have it go into anything. You know, I just feel like people turn noobs away from pin spinning too often by being too strict about maybe an abstract regimen that doesn't exist and that isn't beneficial. the first tricks you learn ever are the hardest, but they're also the tricks that make you addicted to pin spinning, and that's really what it is about. It's about sitting down and then not being able to do it, being frustrated, and then getting it, and learning. That's what's so nice about learning tricks, because it gives you that feeling, gives you that high, and when people see you do tricks, you know, they support you, and then it builds back, and you want to learn more. And there are tons of resources out there these days. You can learn anything you want to. You just have to put your mind to it. And if people want to learn power tricks, go for it. You know, if you've never heard of pin spinning before and you want to learn how to do continuous bus, go for it. Learn it. It's not gonna be, you know, people might say, you know, oh, you don't even know how to do fundamentals, but can they do as many busts as you can? Probably not. I remember the days of, you know, Sunriser doing thumb spins. I've never seen him do anything else, but could you do that many thumb spins back then? I don't think so. And it was impressive. People are too caught up in style and artistry. You just have to have fun. Thanks for listening if you've made it this far, and that's just some of my thoughts on this topic.